The food truck owner's Dashcam. Prosecution's star witness wasn't a cop or FBI agent. It was Miguel Hernandez, owner of Tacos El Rey, whose truck happened to be parked in the perfect spot on the perfect night, as he played the dashcam footage. In court, showing federal judge Lawson accepting $500,000 from known criminals, the courtroom gasped. But Miguel wasn't finished. "There's more," he said. "She's been doing this for years. And I have it all on tape." The screen flickered to life, displaying crystal clear footage from a dashcam dated 3 months earlier. The timestamp read 2:17 a.m., September 15th. Federal Judge Patricia Lawson, one of the most respected figures in the Texas judicial system, stood in a dimly lit parking garage. Her designer suit and perfect posture were unmistakable, even in the grainy nighttime footage. A man approached her, Vincent Morales, a lawyer everyone knew represented the Valdez cartel, but whom no one could ever prove guilty of anything. He carried a metallic briefcase. "Your Honor," Prosecutor Diana Chen paused the video. "What you're about to see is the systematic sale of American justice to the highest bidder." Judge Lawson sat at the defendant's table, her face a mask of controlled fury. Her attorney, the legendary Marcus Sterling, had objected 17 times already, but nothing could stop the footage from playing. The briefcase opened. Stacks of $100 bills were visible, even from the dashcam's distance. Judge Lawson counted them methodically, nodded, and handed Morales a piece of paper. The audio was faint but audible. "The Ramirez case will be dismissed on procedural grounds," her voice carried across the parking garage. "Make sure your client understands this is the last time." "Of course, Your Honor. Until next time." The courtroom sat in stunned silence. Federal judges didn't just take bribes. They certainly didn't get caught on camera doing it. But here was the evidence, undeniable and damning. Miguel Hernandez adjusted his tie nervously. 6 months ago, he'd been just another food truck owner, trying to make a living in Houston. Now he was the center of the biggest judicial corruption scandal in Texas history, all because he'd parked in the wrong place at the right time. Or maybe it was the right place, because Judge Patricia Lawson was the reason his brother, Roberto, was serving life in federal prison for a crime he didn't commit. Before we dive deeper into this incredible story, where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments below. And if you believe that sometimes the smallest citizens can bring down the most powerful corrupt officials, hit that subscribe button. Justice System USA brings you stories where David really does beat Goliath. Story had begun on a humid September night. Miguel had been running his food truck, Tacos El Rey, for 5 years. Every night, he parked in different spots around Houston, serving authentic Mexican food to night shift workers, bargoers, and anyone else hungry after midnight. That particular night, he'd set up in a lot adjacent to the Meridian office complex. It was a good spot, lots of foot traffic from the nearby clubs, and security guards from the office buildings who appreciated a hot meal during their long shifts. Miguel had installed the dashcam after a series of break-ins at other food trucks. In the area, it ran continuously while his truck was operational, capturing everything in front of his serving window. He never expected it to record a federal judge committing a felony. At 2:15 a.m., the parking garage across the street had been empty, except for 2 cars. Miguel hadn't paid attention at first. He was busy preparing an order for a group of nurses getting off their shift. But his dashcam never stopped watching. Judge Patricia Lawson had arrived first, parking her silver Mercedes in a corner spot. 5 minutes later, Vincent Morales pulled up in a black Escalade. What happened next would eventually destroy a criminal empire that had corrupted the justice system for over a decade. The exchange was quick but clear. Money for influence, cash for cases, justice for sale to whoever could afford it. Miguel didn't discover the footage until the next morning when he was reviewing the tape after someone had scratched his truck. He'd been fast-forwarding through hours of footage when he saw it. At first, he couldn't believe it. He recognized Judge Lawson immediately. She'd been in the news just last week, praised for her tough stance on crime. His hands shook as he watched the exchange again and again. This was the same judge who had presided over his brother Roberto's trial 5 years ago. Roberto, who'd been convicted of drug trafficking based on the testimony of a single confidential informant. Roberto, who'd insisted he was framed but whom no one believed. Roberto, who was serving life without parole in federal prison. Miguel's first instinct was to go to the police, But then he remembered Judge Lawson had connections everywhere. How many cops were in her pocket? How many prosecutors? He needed to be smart about this. For weeks, Miguel kept the footage secret while he tried to figure out what to do. He made multiple copies, storing them in different locations. He researched Judge Lawson's recent cases, looking for patterns. What he found shocked him. Case after case, where known cartel members walked free on technicalities, sentences reduced. For violent criminals who could afford the right lawyer, prosecution witnesses whose testimony was thrown out for minor procedural errors. Judge Lawson had been selling justice for years. Then Miguel made a decision that would change his life forever. Instead of going to the local authorities, he reached out to Diana Chen, a federal prosecutor known for her independence and integrity. He'd read about her work taking down corrupt officials in other cities. If anyone would listen to a food truck owner over a federal judge, it would be her. The meeting was arranged for a Sunday morning at a diner outside the city. Miguel brought his laptop and showed Diana the footage. Her face went pale as she watched. "Mr. Hernandez, do you understand what you have here?" she asked. "I understand that Judge sent my brother to die in prison," Miguel replied. "And now I know why." Diana immediately placed Miguel under federal protection. Within hours, a team of FBI agents had descended on Houston. The Dashcam footage was authenticated, enhanced, and analyzed. The investigation that followed would uncover a web of corruption stretching from street-level dealers to the highest levels of the judiciary. But Judge Lawson wasn't going down without a fight. Are you still watching? I know this story sounds like something out of a movie, but it's happening right now in America's courtrooms. Share this video with someone who needs to know that regular people can make a difference. And don't forget to subscribe to Justice System USA for more unbelievable but true stories of justice. The first sign of trouble came 3 days after Miguel met with Diana Chen. He arrived at his usual spot to find his truck vandalized. The tires were slashed, the windows broken, and spray painted across the side were the words, "KEEP, your mouth shut." Miguel called the FBI agents assigned to his case. They increased his protection. But Miguel refused to go into hiding. "I have a business to run," he insisted. "I'm not letting them scare me." The second warning was more direct. A man in an expensive suit approached his truck one night, ordered a taco, then leaned in close. "Nice truck," he said. "Be a shame if something happened to it, or to you." Miguel recognized him from the courthouse, one of Judge Lawson's clerks. He was wearing a wire, courtesy of the FBI, and every word was recorded. "Is that a threat?" Miguel asked calmly, though his heart was racing. "Just friendly advice. Some things are bigger than one man's crusade." After the man left, FBI agents followed him straight back to Judge Lawson's home. The investigation was heating up. Meanwhile, Diana Chen and her team were building their case. The dashcam footage was just the beginning. With that evidence as probable cause, they obtained warrants for Judge Lawson's financial records, phone logs, and email accounts. What they found was staggering. Offshore accounts with millions in deposits, coded communications with known cartel lawyers, a pattern of case assignments and rulings that defied statistical probability. Judge Lawson hadn't just taken a few bribes, she'd been running a judicial racketeering operation for over a decade. But the most damning evidence came from an unexpected source. Vincent Morales, the cartel lawyer caught on tape with Judge Lawson, was arrested on unrelated charges. Facing life in prison, he decided to flip. "Judge Lawson was our insurance policy," he testified to the grand jury. "For the right price, she'd make problems disappear. Evidence would go missing. Witnesses would be discredited. Jury instructions would favor the defense. She was better than any lawyer we could hire." The indictment of federal judge Patricia Lawson sent shockwaves through the legal community. A sitting federal judge arrested for racketeering, bribery, and obstruction of justice. It was unprecedented. But the real drama was yet to come. Because Miguel Hernandez wasn't just a witness, he was a man on a mission to free his brother. During the investigation, Diana Chen had pulled the files from Roberto Hernandez's case. What she found confirmed Miguel's suspicions. The confidential informant who'd testified against Roberto had been paid by the same cartel that was bribing Judge Lawson. Roberto had been set up to take the fall for a shipment he knew nothing about. "Your brother was innocent," Diana told Miguel, "and we're going to prove it." The trial of Judge Patricia Lawson began 6 months after Miguel's dashcam captured that fateful exchange. The courthouse was packed with media, legal observers, and citizens who couldn't believe one of their most respected judges was sitting in the defendant's chair. Marcus Sterling, Judge Lawson's attorney, tried every trick in the book. He challenged the authenticity of the dashcam footage. He questioned Miguel's motives, suggesting he'd doctored the tape to free his brother. He painted Judge Lawson as a victim of an elaborate frame-up, but the evidence was overwhelming. When Diana Chen played the dashcam footage in court, the image was clear, the audio undeniable. Judge Lawson's own voice condemned her. The Ramirez case will be dismissed on procedural grounds. Make sure your client understands this is the last time. Then came Miguel's testimony. He sat in the witness chair, a working man in his best suit, facing the woman who'd destroyed his family. Mr. Hernandez, Diana Chen began. Tell us about the night you recorded this footage. Miguel spoke clearly, without embellishment. He talked about his food truck, his regular spot, his dashcam that ran all night for security. He explained how he'd discovered the footage by accident while looking for evidence of vandalism. And when you realized what you had recorded, Diana asked, I knew I had to come forward. This judge sent my brother to prison for life. Now I knew why. Because someone paid her to do it. Marcus Sterling's cross-examination was brutal. Mr. Hernandez, isn't it true you've harbored resentment against Judge Lawson for 5 years? I harbored resentment against a system that failed. My brother, yes. And isn't it convenient that you just happened to capture this alleged exchange? There's nothing convenient about it. I wish I'd never seen it, but I did, and I couldn't stay silent. You expect this jury to believe that a federal judge would conduct criminal business in full view of a food truck? Miguel met his gaze steadily. I expect the jury to believe their own eyes and ears when they watch that footage. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Witness after witness testified about Judge Lawson's corruption. Vincent Morales detailed years of bribes. FBI forensic accountants showed the money trail. Other defendants whose cases Judge Lawson had fixed came forward, hoping for leniency in exchange for their testimony. But the most powerful moment came when Roberto Hernandez was brought from federal prison to testify. Shackled and wearing an orange jumpsuit, he told his story of being framed for a crime he didn't commit, how he'd maintained his innocence for 5 years, how Judge Lawson had systematically excluded evidence that would have proven his innocence. I lost 5 years of my life, Roberto said, his voice breaking. I missed my daughter's first steps, her first words, her first day of school, all because this judge was for sale. Judge Lawson's defense crumbled. Faced with overwhelming evidence, even Marcus Sterling couldn't spin a narrative of innocence. In a last-ditch effort, Judge Lawson herself took the stand. She tried to paint herself as a victim, claiming she'd been threatened and coerced. But under Diana Chen's cross-examination, her story fell apart. When confronted with the financial record showing millions in bribes, she had no explanation. When asked about specific cases where she'd taken money to fix outcomes, she invoked her Fifth Amendment rights. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours, guilty on all counts, as Judge Patricia Lawson was led away in handcuffs. Miguel Hernandez sat in the gallery, tears streaming down his face. Justice had finally been served, but the story wasn't over. This is why we share these stories, because in America, justice isn't just for the powerful. Sometimes it comes from the most unexpected places, like a food truck's dashcam. If you believe in the power of ordinary citizens to expose corruption, subscribe to Justice System USA, share this video. Let the world know that truth always finds a way. The aftermath of Judge Lawson's conviction sent ripples through the entire judicial system. Every case she'd presided over for the past 10 years was under review. Hundreds of convictions were being re-examined, and at the top of the list was Roberto Hernandez. Within a month, Roberto's conviction was overturned. The real criminals, the ones who'd paid Judge Lawson to frame him, were arrested and charged. After 5 years in federal prison for a crime he didn't commit, Roberto walked free. The reunion between the brothers was emotional. Outside the prison gates, Roberto embraced Miguel, both men sobbing. "You never gave up on me," Roberto said. "You're my brother," Miguel replied. "I knew you were innocent." The media captured the moment. 2 brothers, one who'd fought the system from a food truck, the other finally free after years of injustice. It became an iconic image of perseverance and justice. But Miguel's impact went far beyond freeing his brother. His courage in coming forward had exposed a criminal network that had corrupted the justice system for years. Federal prosecutors used the evidence from Judge Lawson's case to bring charges against 17 other individuals, including 3 lawyers, 2 prosecutors, and another judge. The Tacos El Rey case, as it came to be known, led to major reforms. In judicial oversight, new systems were put in place to monitor judges' financial records and case assignments. Whistleblower protections were strengthened to encourage people like Miguel to come forward. But Miguel himself became an unlikely hero. He was invited to testify before Congress about judicial corruption. Law schools invited him to speak about the importance of ordinary citizens in maintaining justice. He even received a presidential commendation for his courage. But Miguel remained humble. "I'm just a food truck owner who happened to be in the right place at the right time," he told reporters. Anyone would have done the same thing. Not everyone would have, though. It took extraordinary courage to stand up to a federal judge, to risk his business and his safety, to trust that the system would work if given the truth. 6 months after Judge Lawson's conviction, Miguel was back at his food truck, serving tacos to the late-night crowd. Roberto worked alongside him now, the brothers rebuilding their lives together. The truck had a new feature, a sign that read, "Justice served here." One night, Diana Chen stopped by for dinner. She'd become a regular customer and a friend. "Any regrets about coming forward?" she asked, biting into her taco. Miguel looked at his brother, laughing with customers. Finally free. He thought about all the other innocent people who'd been freed because of what his dashcam had captured. He thought about the corrupt officials now behind bars. "My only regret," he said, "is that I couldn't do it sooner." The dashcam still ran every night, recording everything in front of the truck. Miguel had upgraded to a better model, a gift from a grateful citizen whose son had been freed after Judge Lawson's corruption was exposed. But he hoped he'd never capture anything like that again. Still, he kept watching, because that's what citizens do in a democracy. They watch, they record, and when they see injustice, they speak up, even if they're just food truck owners. Especially if they're just food truck owners. Judge Patricia Lawson was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. At her sentencing, she finally showed remorse, tearfully apologizing to all the lives she'd destroyed for money. But her words rang hollow to those in the gallery who'd suffered because of her greed. Vincent Morales and his cartel associates received life sentences. The criminal organization that had corrupted the judiciary was dismantled. Millions in illegal assets were seized and distributed to victims of their crimes. But perhaps the most satisfying moment for Miguel came a year later. Roberto's daughter, now 6 years old, ran up to him at a family barbecue. "Uncle Miguel," she said, "my daddy says you're a hero. Is that true?" Miguel knelt down to her level. "No, Mia, I just did what was right. Your daddy is the hero. He stayed strong even when everyone said he was guilty. But you saved him." "We saved each other," Miguel said, looking at his brother. "That's what family does." The investigation, sparked by Miguel's dashcam footage, eventually led to 43 convictions and the recovery of over $30 million in bribes. It became the largest judicial corruption case in U.S. history, studied in law schools and ethics courses across the country. Miguel expanded his business, eventually owning 3 food trucks. He hired former inmates who'd been wrongly convicted, giving them a second chance, just as his brother had received. The original Tacos El Rey truck was retired and donated to a museum, dashcam and all, as a symbol of how ordinary citizens can fight corruption. Every year on September 15th, the anniversary of the night his dashcam captured Judge Lawson taking a bribe, Miguel parks his truck in the same spot. He serves free tacos to anyone who stops by, and he tells the story to anyone who asks. It's his way of reminding people that justice isn't just something that happens in courtrooms. Sometimes it happens in food truck parking lots at 2 a.m., captured by a simple dashcam and preserved by a man brave enough to speak truth to power. Roberto now works as a paralegal, helping other wrongfully convicted inmates appeal their cases. He often says that his 5 years in prison were worth it if it meant exposing the corruption that put many other innocent people behind bars. The Hernandez brothers' story inspired a new generation of whistleblowers, people in positions both high and low who saw corruption and decided to document it, report it, fight it. Because if a food truck owner could bring down a federal judge, anyone could make a difference. Diana Chen, who prosecuted the case, went on to lead a federal task force on judicial corruption. She kept a photo on her desk, Miguel and Roberto embracing outside the prison gates, a reminder that justice sometimes comes from the most unexpected places. And somewhere in Houston, on any given night, you might find Miguel Hernandez serving tacos from his truck. The dashcam is still rolling, still watching, not because he expects to catch another crime, but because vigilance is the price of justice. And Miguel Hernandez has learned that sometimes being in the right place at the right time isn't just luck, it's destiny. Thank you for watching this incredible story of how one food truck owner's dashcam brought down a corrupt federal judge and freed innocent people from prison. What would you have done in Miguel's place? Would you have had the courage to come forward? Let us know in the comments. If this story inspired you, please subscribe to Justice System USA, hit the notification bell, share this video with someone who needs to remember that in America, justice isn't determined by how powerful you are, but by how powerful the truth is. Where are you watching from today? Whether you're in Houston where this happened or anywhere else in the world, remember, corruption thrives in darkness, but even the smallest light or dashcam can expose it. Until next time, this is Justice System USA, where we believe that every citizen has the power to make a difference. Sometimes all it takes is being in the right place at the right time, and having the courage to act when it matters most. Keep watching, keep recording, keep fighting for justice, because in America, even a food truck owner can bring down corruption at the highest levels, and that's what makes our justice system worth fighting for.